Hello students, welcome back. This is Mrs. Mercado speaking. This is going to be a continuation on the chapter 13 lecture. This is a part B lecture. I'm doing this lecture separately because I've had some students having some difficulties solving a problem that you have for homework, which is problem 13.6. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly explain the logistics of this problem. It's a very important problem. It basically goes over the 4 different inventory methods. It is very important that before you attempt the homework problems, you read the chapter, guys. The chapter goes over the 4 different inventory methods, and it also not only explains the different inventory methods, but it illustrates on how to solve or calculate each of those methods. Okay, so now after you've read the chapter, listen to this video, and hopefully this will kind of provide some further guidance as to how to complete the problem. Now, you have a problem similar to this on your homework, okay? This is problem 13.6a. You have something similar to this, and this particular problem deals with specific identification, Fifo, Lifo, and weighted average, okay? So the problem provides you with a lot of information. Using all of that information provided, you are to calculate some specific items using the information, okay? So let's go over the problem, okay? It says, Swing Company's beginning inventory and purchases during the fiscal year ended September the 30th were as follows. And then they give you a list of the beginning inventory, the units, the unit price, and the total cost. And then they have different purchases during the year, okay? The first purchase, second purchase, and so on and so forth. This is the order in which the items were purchased, and they're ordered by date, okay? So these are all of the purchases that the company, Swing Company, incurred during 1 year, okay? So during the year, they purchased 4,000 units, and they paid $95,600. This is the cost. This is the total units, okay? Now, it says use the following information for specific identification method, okay? Then they give you certain information, and this information is only going to be used for the specific identification method calculation, okay? So that's very important that you understand the problem before you even start trying to figuring out, okay? So this bottom section is only going to be used for when we get to part C, which is, part D. I think that's part D, the specific identification method. Now, let's go to the requirements. It says, required. Calculate the total amount to be assigned to cost of goods sold for the fiscal year ended September the 30th and ending inventory on September 30th under each of the following periods. Periodic inventory methods. We have FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, and specific identification. Okay? So, the first thing we need to figure out is, okay, here they give you the purchase information. Okay, this is how much you purchased. You purchased 4,000 units at a cost of $95,600. Okay, now they're also telling you that there are 1,300 units of inventory on hand on September the 30th. Okay, so at the end of the year, you see the last purchase was on September the 27th. Okay, 3 days later, on September the 30th, you know, we were notified that there's 1,300 units of inventory on hand, okay? So, the first thing we need to know, okay? We started off with 4,000 units, okay? So, let me start here, okay? Total units are 4,000, okay? Total units are 4,000, okay? Now, let me make this a little bit bigger. That way y'all can see it a little bit clearer, okay? So we had total units of 4,000. That was given to you right there. And then they're telling you that you have 1,300 remaining. You have on hand 1,300, okay? So your ending inventory is 1,300 units, okay? Okay. So your ending inventory is 1,300 units. These are the units that you did not sell. Did not sell, okay? This is what you have remaining, okay? So now you have to think, okay, I had 4,000 units, and we're getting this from up here. These are all of your purchases. You purchased 4,000 units. That was your starting point. You know that you have 1,300 left because they tell you here there's 1,300 units in your inventory on hand at the end of the year. Okay, so how many did you sell? Okay, units sold. Okay, well, I had 4,000 and I have 1,300 remaining, so you subtract. So that means that you sold 2,700 units. Okay, so you had purchased 4,000. You have 1,300 that you did not sell. Okay, that's your ending inventory. And you have 2,700 that you sold. This is your cost of goods sold. Okay. Now these two numbers are very important. Okay, because look at what they're asking you to do. They're asking you to calculate the total amount to be assigned to the cost of goods sold. Those 2,700 units. What is their cost? Okay. So this is the number of units that you're trying to find out the cost, okay? And your ending inventory. Okay, you have 1,300 units left. What's the value of those 1,300 units that you have left? So there's two things that we have to figure out here. The value of your ending inventory, those 1,300 units you did not sell, and what is the value of those units that you did sell? Okay, well, you did sell 2,700 units. So what's the value of those units that you sold? Okay? And we have to do that for the four methods: FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, and specific identification. This is the starting point. You need to know what your ending inventory is, 1,300, and that is given to you in the problem. With that, you can calculate the number of units that is your cost of goods sold. These are the units that you actually sold during the year. Okay? So now, I like to solve problems in an organized manner. Okay? So I created this table, okay? Here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out my FIFO, okay? FIFO is first in, first out, okay? First in, first out. Excuse me. So what does that mean? It means that the first items in are the first items you sell, okay? So whenever you make a sale, you're going to always sell the first one's in. So you're going to sell your old and you're going to keep your new. Okay? So I'm going to put a little note here. You're going to sell old inventory and you're going to keep the newest inventory. Okay? That's what it is. You're going to sell the old and keep the new. Okay? So let's start. Okay? So I know that I am going to have 1,300 that I did not sell and 2,700 units that I did sell. Okay? So I'm going to start off with the ones that I sold. Okay? So let's write it out here. Okay? So we need to first figure out the ones that are our units sold. I know that I sold 2,700 units. Okay, which units did I sell? I sold the old inventory and I kept the new inventory. Okay, so we're going to sell the old and we're going to keep the new. Okay. Okay. Let me just do a quick calculation here on my calculator. Okay, so I've got it. Okay, so let's start. So I know the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out which 2,700 units did I sell. Okay, well, I sold my old inventory first. So let's start off with our October 1st inventory. Okay, October 1st. That's my oldest inventory. Okay, and that's your beginning inventory. Okay, how many units did we have? Well, I had 400 units. It says right here. At $20 a piece, that's $8,000. Okay? So, these represents cost of goods sold. These are the items that I sold. And remember, we need to arrive in a total units of 2,700. Okay? That represents the number of units that you sold. Okay? And that's what we're going to calculate first, your cost of goods sold. Okay? Next, I have my October the 18th. Over here, I forgot to put October the 1st. Okay, So October the 18th, that was my first purchase, and I had my first purchase. Okay, and we purchased 500 units at $20.50. Let me make these numbers. Okay, and then that was $10,250. Okay. Now let's go to November the 25th. Okay, and what are we trying to arrive here? We are trying to arrive at 2,700 units. Those are the units that I sold. Remember that. Okay, so that was my second purchase. Okay, I sold those. Okay, how many did I sell? I sold 200. Okay, so I sold 200 at $21.50. That gives me $4,300. Okay, so the question is, have I arrived at the 2,700 figure? Well, no. Right now we only have 1,100 units, so I still need more. So I'm going to keep on adding to my cost of goods sold until I reach 2,700 units. Okay? So that happened on November the 25th. Now we go to January the 12th. That was my third purchase. And I have 300 units at $23, and that is $6,900. So I'm basically just copying the information from here over here, and I'm going to split it between the first columns is the units that I sold, the second column is the units that I kept. These are the units that I have not sold. That's my ending inventory. Okay, and then I have March the 17th. That was my fourth purchase. Okay, and that one was 900 units. Okay, at $24.50, and that's $22,050. Okay. Okay, now let me get a calculator. Okay. So I've got 400 units, 500 units, 200 units, 300 units, and 900 units. I have 2,300 units that I have sold. Okay. Now, if we look at the problem down here, 2,300 units. I sold 2,700 units, okay? So I sold 2,700 units. The tally from my calculation up here, okay, was 2,300. That means I need 400 more units so I can get my total for my cost of goods sold. Now, if you look at your transaction for June the 2nd, okay? For June the 2nd, I have the fifth purchase, and I have 800 units. Do I need 800 units? No. I only need, how many units did we say we needed? Let's do the math again. So let me see. My starting point is 2,700 units. These are the units that I sold. That is the amount that I'm calculating right now. So I have 2,700, and then I'm going to subtract these units right here. So I can figure out how many units do I need to arrive at the figure that I'm looking for. So I need 400 units to make up this 2,700 amount for my cost of goods sold. Okay, so I have 400 units at $25. Oh, sorry about that. So let me see how much that is. 25 times 400, that's $10,000. Okay? Okay. Now, up to that point, that would give me, if I add my column here for units, that should give me 2,700 units. Now, those 2,700 units are my cost of goods sold. Those are the units that I sold. Okay? So now I can get a total for how much the value of those units are. Well, the value of the inventory that I sold was valued at $61,500. So, okay, your cost of goods sold is, for the 2,700 units that you sold, is $61,500. Okay, now that is the first part. Okay, this is your cost of goods sold component. That represents the goods that you sold. Okay. Now we're going to figure out the goods that you did not sell. that is your ending inventory. I have 1,300 units that you did not sell. You still have those units sitting in your warehouse. How much are those units worth? What is their value? How much, what is their cost, okay, of those units that you still have sitting in the warehouse, okay? So now, for that, we have to get a total of 1,300 units, okay? And remember, we are using Fifo, which is you sell the old, you keep the new. So we're going to keep the newest ones. The ones that you bought last, those are the ones that I'm keeping, okay? Now, let's look at the fifth purchase. The fifth purchase was 800 units, okay? Out of those 800 units, I sold 400, okay? Okay, you sold 400, so then that means that you still had 400 left over, okay? So you had 800, you sold 400, that leaves you with 400 units that you have not sold, okay? 400 units at $25 each, that's $10,000, okay? Let me format this. Okay. Okay. Now we go to August the 21st. Okay. On August the 21st, all of those goods I did not sell. I kept in my warehouse. So those are going to go over in my ending inventory. So those I have 200 units at $26 a piece. Okay. And I'm going to make these like this. So that's going to give me 200 times 26. That's $5,200. Okay. And then I have September the 27th. Okay. And on September the 27th, I have 700 units at $27. That's $18,900. Okay. That's it. Now I'm going to add my column for my cost of ending inventory. Remember, that amount needs to equal to 1,300. That represents your ending inventory. Whatever it was given to you in the problem, of course, each of you has different problems, but whatever the amount of the units of ending inventory is, that 1,300 or that number that's there needs to be right here, okay? So that's correct. And now we're going to add the total right here for my cost, okay? And my cost is $34,100, okay? So now this section right here, that represents your inventory. This is the cost for your ending inventory. This is the cost for your cost of goods sold. This is what you sold. This is what you have left over in your inventory. And that is the question that they're asking you, okay? They're asking you to calculate the amount to be assigned to cost of goods sold and ending inventory on September the 30th. So the cost of goods sold amount will be $61,500. The amount of your ending inventory will be $34,100. Those are the amounts that you're going to be entering in Cengage in your problem, okay? Those are the costs. They're asking you for the cost of your cost of goods sold and your ending inventory, okay? So the point here is understanding, first, setting up or laying out your problem so you can see it visually, okay? Second of all, organizing your information, okay? Third is understanding what the problem is asking you. The problem told you that you purchased 4,000 units, which I have right there. The problem is telling you that you have 1,300 units on hand, which means you did not sell those 1,300 units. So that's my ending inventory. So then from there, you can subtract your total units minus your ending inventory to get the units that you sold. You sold 2,700 units. That represents your cost of goods sold, okay? So for each of the problems, whether it be using Fifo, Lifo, weighted average, or special identification method, the ending inventory will be 1,300 units. The cost of goods sold will be 2,700 units. And then you're going to try to figure out the cost using the 4 methods, okay? We're going to do the same exact thing, but now we're using Lifo, okay? Lifo stands for last in, first out, okay? So what does that mean? Last in, first out. So that means you're going to sell the newest inventory and you're going to keep the oldest inventory. That's what it means, okay? You're going to sell the newest inventory, which means the items that you purchased last are the ones that you're going to be selling first, okay? You have to think about it. And if you can't, say it out loud. Last in, first out. The last items in are the first items that you're selling. So that means that you're going to sell the newest and you're going to keep the oldest, okay? So, having said that, now we need to figure out, okay, which items am I keeping, which items, okay? So we say we are keeping the oldest items and I'm selling the newest inventory, okay? So, this one's going to be a little bit backwards because now I am keeping the oldest inventory, okay? So, because I know that we are keeping the oldest inventory, I'm going to calculate my ending inventory first, okay? So let's start with that, okay? That October 1st transaction, okay? That's my oldest inventory. I'm keeping it, okay? So if I'm keeping it, I am calculating my 1,300 units. Those are the ones that I did not sell, okay? And I am, remember, I'm selling the newest and I'm keeping the oldest. And I am keeping 1,300 of my oldest inventory, okay? So this is my beginning inventory. And this is the inventory that I'm keeping, okay? So that's going to go to my cost of ending inventory, okay? So I had 400 units at $20 a piece. That's $8,000, okay? Now I go to my second oldest inventory, which is October the 18th. That's my first purchase. Okay, I'm keeping this one too because it's my second oldest. And I have 500 units at $20.50. And that's going to be $10,250. Then I move on to my third one. This is happening November the 25th. This is my second purchase, okay? So here I have 200 at $21.50. That's $4,300, okay? Now we move on to January the 12th, okay? Now, before I go to January the 12th, I know that for my cost of ending inventory, I need 1,300 units. So how many units do I have so far? Well, 1,300 minus 400 minus 500 minus 200. So that means I need 200 more units to come up to my 1,300 units that I did not sell. That is what it's telling me here. Remember, we're trying to figure out how much that 1,300 units of ending inventory that we have on hand in our warehouse is valued at. So my goal here is to figure out, okay, what is your oldest inventory? And I'm figuring it out based on the schedule. And you have to figure out, well, how much is the 1,300 of those of your oldest inventory worth, okay? So right now I need from this third purchase only 200 more units to come up to my 1,300 figure, okay? So on January the 12th, I have 300 units, okay? So out of those 300 units, I'm keeping 200 of them at $23, okay? So I'm going to get my calculator, 200 times 23, that's $4,600, okay? Now this represents the 1,300 units that I did not sell. These are the units that I have sitting on my warehouse, okay? You add them up and it gives you 1,300, okay? Now, how much are those $1,300 units that you have sitting in your warehouse valued at using the Lifo method, okay? Under the Lifo method, we add the total column, and that gives me $27,150, okay? So if you see here, whether you use Fifo or Lifo, you're still going to have 1,300 units in your ending inventory. That is what the problem is telling you have, but the value is different. Why? Because under the Fifo method, I kept my newest inventory, okay? Under the Lifo method, I kept my oldest inventory, okay? So that is the difference. In the Fifo inventory method, you keep your newest. In the Lifo method, you keep the oldest inventory. Once you figure that out, then that means all of the rest of the inventory was sold. Okay? Now let's go back to the third purchase. We had 300 units. 200 of those units were not sold. But that means that 100 units were sold. Okay? So we did sell 100 units at $23. Let's get the calculator. 100 times 23. That's $2,300. Okay? Okay, so now we just move on. Now that this column is figured out, now I know that everything else from the third purchase down, everything was sold, okay? Because we are selling the newest inventory, okay? So now I'm going to just enter March the 17th. This is my fourth purchase. And this one was sold. Fourth purchase. And for the fourth purchase, we have 900 units at $24.50. That's $22.50. And I'm getting these numbers, guys, from, let me just quickly format this. I'm getting these numbers. Everything is coming off of this table right here, okay? That way I don't lose you, okay? June the 2nd. This is the fifth purchase. And we have 800 units at $25 a piece. Let me format this, okay? And then that's $20,000, okay? Right here, $20,000. Then we have August the 21st. That's the sixth purchase. And then that's 200 units at $26 a piece. It's $5,200. And then we have September the 27th. And that's my seventh purchase of 700 units at $27, okay? So if you see, once you have it set up, it becomes a piece of cake. All you have to do is break out the ones that you did not sell to the ones that you did sell, okay? Now, for the ones that I did sell, these are my costs of goods sold. These are the units that I did sell. I need to have 2,700 units, for this column all the time. Okay, regardless of the method you use, these are 2,700 units that you sold. Now we're trying to figure out how much or what is the cost of those units that you did sell. Well, you add it up. So those 2,700 units that you sold are valued at $68,450. Versus if you look at the Fifo method, those same 2,700 units were valued at $61,500. Why? Well, under Fifo, remember, you sold the old inventory, you keep the new. So here, under the Fifo, you sold the oldest items, okay? Under Lifo, look at this. You sold the newest inventory. The ones that you purchased last are the ones that you sold first, okay? You sell the new, you keep the old, okay? So that's the difference, okay? Both of them are going to be 2,700 units. What changes is the cost depending on if you keep the old or if you keep the new, okay? So these are the calculations, and if you notice, it's 2,700 units for each, and then based on the items that you either keep or sell is what's going to be impacting the difference, okay? So it's very important that you are able to identify from the list provided and using your knowledge from what you've read to whether you're going to keep the old or keep the new, okay? Under Fifo, you keep the old, you sell the old, and you keep the new, okay? You sell the old inventory, the oldest ones you've got, and you keep the newest ones you've got. Under the Lifo, you sell the newest inventory, and you keep the oldest, okay? Now, let's look at the weighted average. The weighted average is the simplest one of all of them, okay? So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out the average cost per unit, okay? To calculate the average cost per unit, you're just going to get your total cost divided by your total units, okay? It's going to be your total cost divided by your total units, okay? So then that's going to give you, okay? That is going to give you 95,600 divided by 4,000 units. Okay, and let's see what that gives us. So we're doing the 95,600, which is your total cost right here, divided by 4,000 units. And that gives you $23.90 per unit. Okay? So the average cost per unit is your total cost right here. Okay? This is your total cost. That's the number that we're picking up. Your total cost, 95,600 divided by your total units. Okay, these are your total units. Okay, so you're going to divide the total, 95,600 divided by 4,000, and that gives you $23.90. Okay, now that you've got that, you can calculate your ending inventory. Okay. For your ending inventory, remember we have 1,300 units that you did not sell. So then that's going to be 1,300 units. Units. You're going to multiply by 2390. And that's going to give you 1,300 times 2390. That's going to give you $31,070. So this represents the value of those 30 units that you have, the 1,300 units that you have in your warehouse that you have not sold. So your ending inventory is 1,300 units times the average cost per unit of $23.90, and that will give you your ending inventory amount right there of $31,070. Okay. Now to calculate your cost of goods sold, how many did you sell? Well, I sold 2,700 units. So you have 2,700 units. 2,700 units. Units. And we're going to multiply it by the $23.90. And let's see what that gives us. $23.90 times the 2,700 units that we did sell. That's $64,530. Okay. 64,530. So, for the weighted average, the key here is to calculate your average cost per unit, which we did. Once you have that number, then you just multiply times number of units, or the quantity of units that you have in your ending inventory, which in this case we have 1,300. And then for your cost of goods sold, remember cost of goods sold represents the actual units that you did sell, which we did sell 2,700. 2,700 times the 23.90, your average cost per unit will give you those amounts. So that's your cost for your ending inventory, and that's your cost for your cost of goods sold. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, last but not least, we have the special identification method. Okay. Now, for the special identification method, they give you additional information. It says, use the following information for the specific identification method. Okay. So they're telling you that 100 units are from October 18th, from the October 18th purchase, which is the first purchase. You have 200 units left from the third purchase, 100 units left from the fourth purchase, 400 units left from the fifth purchase, 200 units left from the sixth purchase, and 300 units left from the seventh purchase. So they're telling you exactly these are the 1,300 units that you have not sold. Okay, so I went ahead and I did the same table that I did before to stay organized. Okay, now let's look at this. 100 units from October the 18th. So October the 18th, I had 500 units. Okay, so they're telling you that you have 100 left over, which means you did not sell 100 of those. Okay, so that is your starting point. They're starting off with the first purchase. So for us not to get confused, let's get started with the October 1st transaction first. Okay? October 1st. That's the beginning inventory. Okay? Did they reference that here in the list? No, they did not reference that. So that means that those items on your beginning inventory were sold. So we have 400 units at $20 a piece. Those were sold. Okay? So we have 400 units at $20. That's going to be $8,000. Now let's look at the first purchase. They're telling you that you had purchased 500. Out of those 500 that you purchased, you have 100 that you did not sell. Okay? So let's do that. October 18th. If you did not sell it, then that goes under cost of ending inventory. And they're telling you you have 100 that were not sold. Okay? And then the value or the unit price is $20.50. Okay? So let me get my calculator. 100 times 2050. That's going to be 2,050. Okay. So, they're telling you here, this is what you have remaining, 100 units from October 18th. So we said on October 18th we had 500 units. We did not sell 100. So that means that you sold 400. Okay? 400 that you did not sell plus 100 that you did sell gives you your 500 up here. So you have to be looking at every purchase and identify, okay, from the $500, from the 500 units from the first purchase, how many did I sell? How many did I not sell? Well, it tells you here that you did not sell from the October 18th transaction 100 units. So 500 minus the 100 that you did not sell, that means you sold 400. So we have 400 at $20.50, and that's going to give you $8,200. Okay? So now let's look at the second purchase. The second purchase was not included here. Okay? So what does that mean? If the second purchase was not included in this list for the specific identification method, it means that the second purchase was all sold. You sold everything on your second purchase. So let's look at our second purchase that happened on November the 25th. November the 25th. And I forgot to put purchase. Okay, first purchase. Now we're on the second purchase. The second purchase, we did not keep any of the second purchase. We sold all of them. Okay, so we have 200 units at $21.50. Okay, 200 units at $21.50. That is going to be $4,300. Okay, and all you do is multiply, guys. All I'm doing is multiplying 200 times $21.50. That's $4,300. Okay. Now let's look at the third purchase. Okay, third purchase, you did not sell 200. Okay. So third purchase happened January the 12th. For January the 12th, okay, they're telling you that you did not sell 200. So if you did not sell them, they go under cost of ending inventory. 200 from right here. Okay? Where am I getting this information? Right there. It's telling you that those 200 units you did not sell them from that third purchase. Okay? So let's look at the third purchase. Okay? We had 300 units at $23, and we did not sell 200 of them. Okay? So let's look at the third purchase. That's $23 a piece. Okay? $23 a piece. Okay? So 200 times 23, that's $4,600. Okay? So let's look at January the 12th again. January the 12th, we have 300 units. 300 units, and they're telling you here that 200 were not sold. So that means that you must have sold 100. 300 units minus 200 will give you 100 units that you did sell. Okay? So I sold 100 units at $23. That's going to give me $2,300. That's my third purchase. So it's like a puzzle. You have to figure out which ones did you sell, which ones did you did not sell. All of these down here, you did not sell. Okay? Those is what you have remaining. Okay? Now let's look at the fourth purchase. You have 100 units from the fourth purchase that you did not sell. The fourth purchase happened on March the 17th. Okay? March the 17th, that's the fourth purchase. Okay? On the fourth purchase, we have 100 units that you did not sell. If you did not sell it, they go under your cost of ending inventory. Okay? So let's look at the fourth purchase. The cost is $24.50. Okay. So then that's going to be $24.50 over here. Okay, so let's look at the fourth purchase over here. We had 900 units. And on the fourth purchase, I did not sell 100. So I had 900. I have 100 remaining. So that means I must have sold 800. That's 900 minus the 100 from right here. Right there. And that's going to give me 800 for the ones that I did. I'm sorry. Let me move this. Sorry. Where's my right book? Okay. So I had 900 units. For my fourth purchase, I did not sell 100 of them. So that means 900 minus 100 means I sold 800 units. So those 800 units that I did sell were at $24.50, and then that's $19,600. Okay. Okay, so you're just going to do the same thing for all of them. Let's go on to the next purchase, which is the fifth purchase. That happened on June the 2nd. Okay. For the fifth purchase, did we have any we kept? Yeah, we did not sell 400 of them. Okay. So for that fifth purchase, I did not sell 400. So let's look at that fifth purchase. The fifth purchase, I had 800 units and I did not sell 400. So that means I sold 400. I did not sell 400. So 4 and 4 gives me the 8. Okay. So we're going to split those, and the unit cost is $25. Okay. So I sold 400 at $25. It's $10,000. And then I did not sell 400. According to the problem, you did not sell 400 right here. Okay. Next item, we have the sixth purchase, which is August the 21st. That's the sixth purchase. Okay. So from the sixth purchase, we need to figure out which ones we sold, which ones we did not sell. Well, from the sixth purchase, right here, they're telling us you did not sell 200 of it. Okay. So they're telling you you did not sell 200. So if we look at the sixth purchase, you had 200 and you did not sell any of them. You have all of them remaining. You have all of them in your warehouse. So those 200 units are in your ending inventory right here. Remember, if you did not sell them, they go here. This is your unsold inventory. The 200 units at $26 a piece. That's $6,200. Last one we have is September the 27th. That's the seventh purchase. Okay. For the seventh purchase, we have 300 units that we did not sell. Okay. So we have 300 units that we did not sell. Okay. So for the seventh purchase, we had 700 units. We did not sell 300, so that means that there was 400 that we did sell. How am I getting that 400 units? Well, I have 700 units. The problem is telling you 300 were not sold, so that's minus 300. So that means you must have sold 400 of them, okay? And the unit price is $27, okay? So for that one, I know that I did not, or I did sell 400 at $27 a piece. That's going to be $10,800. Now, the problem tells you that 300 were not sold. They're in your ending inventory. So that's going to go over here. 300 units at $27. Let me format this more nicely. There we go. So 300 times 27. Okay? That's $8,100. Okay? So those are all of my purchases. And I split them out between my cost of goods sold and my cost of ending inventory. Cost of goods sold represents the goods that you sold. Cost of ending inventory is what you have not sold. This is what you have sitting in your warehouse. So let's add them together. And let's see if we come up with our 2,700 units, which we do. Okay. So that 2,700 unit figure should always tie for all of your methods. 2,700, 2,700, 2,700 right here, and then 2,700. That represents the count of units that you did sell. Well, how much were those units valued? What was your cost? Okay. Your cost was $63,200. Okay. Now for my ending inventory, I should have 1,300. Voila. Yes, I do. Regardless of the method that you use, you should have 1,300 units in your warehouse. Okay? That is what that represents the quantity of goods that you did not sell that you still have available in your warehouse. What's the cost of those goods that you're sitting in your warehouse? Well, the cost of those goods is $32,500. Okay? So these are the different calculations for each of the methods: FIFO, Lifo, special identification, and the weighted average. So for your problem, I don't know how. Let me do it down here. Okay. So they have FIFO method. Well, which one's was the first one that we did? We did FIFO first. Okay. So then we're gonna have the method here, and then we're gonna have cost of goods sold, and then ending inventory. Okay. Okay. And then I'm just gonna do a little table. That way we can summarize the different methods, and we can see the difference between the different methods. Regardless of the methods, I sold 2,700 units, and I had 1,300 units remaining in my warehouse. So the first method that we had was FIFO. Okay. For FIFO, my cost of goods sold was $61,500. My ending inventory was valued at $34,100. Okay. For Lifo, my cost of goods sold was valued at $68,450. My ending inventory was valued at $27,150. For the weighted average, my cost of goods sold was $64,530. Okay. And then my ending inventory was $31,070. And then for the specific identification, and I special identification, it should be specific, guys. Correct me when I make a mistake. They should be specific right there. Specific identification. Okay. So specific identification. Okay, I'm gonna abbreviate. That one, the amount for my cost of goods sold is $63,200, and my ending inventory is $32,400. Okay. So now that we have this, we can compare the different methods. Okay. So regardless of the methods, we have 2,700 units that were sold, and we had 1,300 units in our ending inventory. Regardless of the method, all of them give you 2,700 units sold. All of them give you 1,300 units in your ending inventory. That represents the unsold units. Okay. Okay. Now the question is, what is their value? Okay. And if you see, depending on the method that you use, are the different amounts that they're going to be valued at in your books, in your financial statements. Okay. So whenever a business has to make a decision as to what inventory method to use, different factors are analyzed to figure out what is the best method or the best approach to keep track of the cost of the inventory. Okay. So FIFO gives you a higher ending inventory from all of them. Okay? So your inventory is going to be valued pretty high, and your cost of goods sold will be the one that's valued lowest. Okay, so your cost of goods sold will be low, your ending inventory will be high. Okay. The weighted average gives you kind of like in the middle. It's not, if you see the Lifo gives you 68 at one extreme, the Fifo gives you 61 at another extreme. So the weighted average is kind of like an average of those two combined. It gives you kind of like a medium. And it's a very easy calculation. A lot of companies use the weighted average method. Why? Because it's very easy to calculate. You just calculate the average cost per unit and you use that cost and apply that to your ending inventory and cost of goods sold. Okay? And then the special identification, that's useful if you have specific goods that are traceable, they're expensive, that you can easily identify. Like for example, if you're selling cars and you have like Corvettes, okay? Each car has its own VIN number, so you're easily able to identify which ones did you sell or not sell, okay? So if they're easily identifiable, either with the code, a VIN, a tag number, it's something expensive that you want to keep track of them separately, maybe you use a specific identification method, okay? But these are how you calculate the 4 inventory methods, okay? Just remember, set up your problem, okay? Do a little table. Figure out, okay? FIFO, which one am I selling? Well, I'm going to sell my old inventory. I'm going to keep my new, okay? And then you have to figure out, before you even start working out the problem, okay, how many units did I start off with? Well, I had 4,000 units according to the problem, okay? How many are they telling you that you have on hand? Well, they're telling me that I have 1,300 that I did not sell. Okay, so if you started off with 4,000, 1,300 are not sold, that means you must have sold the rest, which were 2,700. Once you have this figured out, then you can start tackling the problem, okay? There's a lot of information presented in this problem. You need to read it carefully. You need to understand what you're doing in each of the methods, so you can be able to tackle the problem, okay? I hope this provides some guidance as to how to complete the problem in each of the inventory methods. I've tried to explain it as easily as I can, but if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you and have a good day.